All right, guys, we're here with version 3, if you will. And this version is the final version that I decided to go with. Previously, I had the heat sensor actually cut off power to the whole thing. What I found was that what was actually happening is that the heat would kick on once you clicked on the paddle switch. Everything would turn on, it would heat up, and when it turned off or when it hit the maximum temperature, what would actually happen is the whole system would shut down and then it would start cooling off, and it wouldn't be until it reached a lower temperature that you would be allowed to start reheating it through the paddle switch. Unfortunately, what that meant was that when you did that, the paddle switch would not re-engage unless you re-engaged it, but there's no way to tell that the temperature has dropped to a sufficient level for you to re-engage it. So you'd be stuck turning on your heated steering wheel, then it gets to the temperature, it turns off on its own, and then eventually it would cool and you'd remember, oh wait, I got to turn it back on. So this new setup actually has the paddle switch ignition, or the paddle switch module first, then the temperature module, which is off until you actually turn it on. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn it on. Okay, we know that the steering wheel is currently at 26.7 degrees Celsius. What I've actually done is I've set it to have a maximum temperature of 40 degrees Celsius. So we'll just wait for that to heat up, and you can actually see, based on the temperature, that it's definitely heating back up. And for sure, eventually I will figure out how to time-lapse and add music, but for now you will just sit in silence. Okay, so we're at 39 degrees. Temperature is definitely very warm. That's exactly what I want. And once we reach 40, you'll see that if you heard a click, what actually happened is the temperature relay has cut power to the heat, but not to the entire system. So you see that it topped out at around 40.6 degrees Celsius, which is, again, a very warm, nice heated steering wheel. This is definitely something I would be comfortable putting my hands on, whether I have bare hands or with gloves. And so now you see, just like I showed you in the last video, the temperature is now slowly dropping back. I have the threshold set at 2 degrees. 2 degrees Celsius as the threshold. Okay, so we're down to 39. And what you'll see is that once it reaches 38, you're going to hear the click of the relay. It's going to turn back on and heat the wheel back up. So it's going to maintain a temperature between 38 and 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, you saw the little red light click on over here, which means this is currently active. And then you're going to start to see it heat back up. And now, before it heats up all the way, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to show you I can use the paddle switch and kill the power that means I'll be effectively turning the heated steering wheel off. So I'll use this one. And you see, now it's turned off. If I want, I can turn it back on while it's still warm. Now, because it's above the threshold of 40, this is actually currently off because it was still, you know, the heat was still being absorbed into the thermistor. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it back off. So, guys, this is the final setup I'm going to go with. I mentioned it in the other video. I'm going to bury this stuff inside the actual clock spring housing. The only thing I'm thinking about right now that I'm not fully decided upon is if I want to bury this or find a way to have it face out on the housing, just because there are 3 buttons here, and these are actually how we set the temperature thresholds. And it does maintain that threshold. It does use EEPROM to store that, despite if you pull the power from it. It's not like your clock on your oven. But the catch is, if I ever do want to change that and I bury it deep inside that clock spring housing, then the only way to get in there and modify it is going to be to pull the steering wheel and pull the housing off. So it's something I have to think about. It is definitely something that you're going to set and forget and never touch ever again. But, something I'm just still noodling on. But thank you guys for stopping by for this second update here. And now I think it's time to get the harnesses put together and time to get going. All right, catch you in the next one.